Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Depending on whatever time you choose to watch this, my name is Bongsini Magwaza, and I'd like to welcome you to the second lesson of how to make a website with Spaanify. So basically, just to catch you up and to touch terms and touch bases, so you know more or less where we're at. So in the previous lesson, my colleague Lyth Brown actually showed you how to make this HTML page, where he showed you how to create the navigation bar, a header, add some images, and then create the content, as well as a contact form, as well as the footer at the bottom of your page. So basically today I will be taking this entire page that you've created and helping you to transform it into something that is more user friendly, in the term that we're actually styling it using CSS. So you're probably wondering, what is CSS? So basically CSS works hand in hand with HTML. If HTML was your skeleton, then CSS could be looked at as your skin. The nice thing about the skin is that it can be any color that you like. It doesn't discriminate in any sort of way. So you can actually do whatever you wish with it. You can make the whole thing purple if you like, but that's just for example's sake. But honestly speaking, you could do as you wish. So as you can see, that at the top, we've now styled the actual navigation bar in a way that's more recognizable. We've actually made the image responsive, so whatever size it's on will always change accordingly. Added some background effects, some hover effects to certain. Okay, and there we go. We can now see that the page background has actually changed to black. So we know that the pages are actually communicating with one another, which is good. So cool. Now I can remove this because I know that the pages are actually communicating with each other, and then I should be able to refresh that. While it refreshes, I'm going to just come back to this side. Okay, so now basically there are these tags that we added in the beginning. So now the nice thing about HTML and CSS is that they can work together. What I mean by that is basically you can put some code in the same page, but for example, you can put CSS code inside HTML, but you cannot put HTML code inside CSS. Keep this in mind. But now what I want to do is I want to take this particular section here, I want to copy it, then I'm going to paste it down here. But now I'm not done there. As you can see, the code is not quite neat. If I was to come back, I would have trouble actually finding what I'm looking for. So now I actually want to space it out and make it look a bit neat, So when I do wish to come back in the future, if anyone else wishes to come back and use my code, it's actually very usable and it's very easy for them to find what they're looking for. Okay, so now I'm also going to actually just space this out as well. Okay, and that is fine. Okay, cool. So now basically all of this here is referring to the body. So now we know that the font that's being used currently is the Georgia comma serif, and then also in this, for all the headers, we have this particular font that we're using here, and then the letter spacing is 5 pixels. Okay, so now what we can do here is we can remove this section and we can remove these style tags, because now we have actually moved them over to the CSS page. So now if you notice, every now and then this section here will go red. The reason this goes red is because every time I make a change, it's encouraging me to actually save my work, so that I can always make sure that I don't work for too long without being able to actually check on my stuff. So now what I can do, I personally like using shortcuts. So how I'm going to go about doing that is I'm going to press Control S, and you'll see now that the green has gone, the red has gone to blue. So you're probably wondering also, you've seen that when you downloaded Notepad++, that your background came white. So mine is obviously not, because I tend to code for a very long periods of time, as well as sometimes at late times as well. So now, basically, that being said, I prefer to have a darker background because it's easier on the eyes. So if you also wish to change it, you can obviously come to settings, click on style configuration, and then here you have options of how you can actually change your background. If you look there in the background, you'll actually see that it is actually changing. But since I've already set mine, I'm happy with mine already. I'm just doing this so you know more or less how you can change it if you wish to make any changes. Alright, let's jump into it. Okay, so now what I want to do basically is I want to obviously start styling this thing. But now the way I want to style is I want to start it from top to bottom. Meaning I want to start from the navigation bar to the banner, and so forth and so forth. So now how I'm going to do this basically is, obviously I need to actually start from the top here where we actually name out these things. But now all this code here might actually get in the way and actually make certain things crash. So what I'm going to do basically for now is I'm actually going to comment the code out. If not, I will just delete the code. But but this will just be so I can, yeah, no, I think I'm going to just delete the code for now, and then I'm going to rewrite it in a way that it'll be the exact same code. It's just that it's the way that I want to more or less understand the whole thing, or how I will be writing my code, so to speak. So I'm going to actually remove it until the header here, which should be enough. Okay, I'm going to press enter a few times, then cool. Okay, so now that the top section is right, so this section here is talking about making sure that your page is responsive, so that when you actually move your things, that it changes accordingly. So now I'm going to show you how to actually work more with that and set it for the particular sizes. So it's actually a very good practice for you to actually start designing from mobile application, moving up towards the larger screen sizes. And the reason I say this, well, from personal experience, all the websites that we run and actually have analytics on, we've seen that about a good 90 to 95% of all of our users actually come using their mobile phones, or their phones actually to surf our sites. So now that being said, it's best to actually work from a mobile perspective and then move up from there. But anyway, so now we've got that. Okay, wait, I actually want to do something. There's something that I might have missed out here. Okay, so we've got the head. Cool, that's the head. Now I'd like to actually work in okay, yeah, no. I'm going to take out the code. Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a body tag. Body tag. Cool. Then once I've created the body tag, I'm going to go within it and I'm going to create the header tag. So now basically the header tag, what that does is that it targets the area where I'll be putting my navigation. So now within that, again, I'm going to now create an anchor, which is basically going to be a clickable link, which will maybe take me to another page or to another section, whatever I wish to make it. So how I'm going to do this, ahref. So ahref is now calling whatever I am going to set within the parameters. For now, I'm going to just set it to that being hashtag. So obviously it will stay on the page. For now, this will just be a simple one-page website. And then the next thing I want to do, since I'm speaking about the header, is I want to actually give it a class so that I can actually call it when I want to style it to make my life much easier. You will also see that in the future how this whole thing is going to work exactly. But for now, just do as I'm doing, and then we will go into depth as to how exactly this all comes together. Okay, so now that is that. And then below that, I now want to add a navigation bar. Nav. So nav is also a tag that the computer understands. So now the computer knows that I'm trying to make a navigation, but now that's not it. I would also like to add an unordered list. Sorry. I would also like to add an unordered list. Okay, so now that's my unordered list, and now within the list, I'm actually going to create a link to all of these things here. So as you can see, about, menu, and such, I'm going to now put them all in a way that they're actually able to be called. So I'm going to be using the same code, ahref is equals to, remember to always put such whenever you make something equals to, put inside of commas. Then let me just close it all so that it closes on that side. And then I'm going to make it equals to, again, hashtag, because there's no page I'm going to be linking it to. Then for now, I'm going to just call it about. Cool, you can save that. And then what I want to do now is actually want to control all of this. Come down here, paste, and then rename it. So the last one I'm going to name contact. And the second one I'm going to name menu. Come back here, menu, control save. Now let's see if on this side this is responding the way I wish for it to be. While it loads, I'm going to continue so long. So now just always make sure that your code is nicely segmented so you can more or less see what is happening and how it's working. Okay, just want to see what's happening on this side. Okay, cool. Right, okay. So now one more thing that I'd like to add. So I want to make sure that everything has every time you code, make sure to minimize the amount of errors you can have in the future. Just make sure that everything you have has a partner, or everything that has a partner is actually closed off in any sort of way, because you don't want to be stuck. I found myself too many times actually looking for a particular section that I thought I'd put in, but it is not now showing up for some odd reason. Okay, so now that that is done, I actually want to come back to I actually want to continue actually, and I think what I'm going to do rather is I'm going to actually just make the whole page with you. Remember, this will still be the exact same thing. I just want to actually work with you so you know more or less what is happening. So I'm going to take it out until body, which is down here, and then remove this. So now that I know that everything is actually being encompassed within the body tags and everything actually has a partner. There we go. That has a partner, the footer, as well as this. Okay, perfect. So now that we've done that, I want to actually create the next area. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a tag called main. So now main is going to just house everything within my main area, my body, so to speak. So now what I want to do as well is I'm going to create a section tag. Section, I'm going to name the section class. I'm going to give the section a class and then name it burger banner, because that's where I'm going to put my burger image. Burger dash banner. So now you'll see that I put a dash in between. That's because it's best for you not to leave any white spaces when naming your classes, because the computer will not be able to read past the space. It's best for you to actually always make sure there's some sort of connection. So whether it's that or a full stop next to it, there's some sort of way that the computer will know what you're trying to do more or less. Okay. And then after this, now what I want to do is obviously I would like to close it off. Cool. Close that off now. And then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to now add the image of the burger that we saw. Image class, img class is equals to, again, inverted commas, banner, come out inverted commas, src is equals to img, which is equals to the, excuse me, just having, there we go. As you can see, I've already made a bit of a mistake. So what is it? This button. Okay, there we go. Image is equals to, so now I'm actually calling upon the file or the location of the file. So I know that I saved the file, or I know that I saved my images within this file. Hamburger.jpg, cool. And then I'm going to add an alt to it. So now this is also how you actually make it so that Google, whenever people search for a particular word or a word that may relate to your site, that Google actually picks it up. Okay, and then close. Okay, cool. So now what we can do is we can actually start styling this section here. So I don't necessarily need any of this, so I'm going to actually just take it out. But now one thing I will encourage you to do is to always use comments, so that you know more or less, like I was saying, so you know where you are, what area you're working on, so that makes life much easier for yourself and anyone else that is going to come and look at your code. Okay, so now first thing I want to do is I want to style the entire page. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the asterisk. The asterisk is now referring to the whole styling of the page. What I want to do first is add a margin. I'm going to make the margin 0. Basically what that's going to do is going to take away any spacing that I may have that I do not necessarily need, as well as the padding. Padding will also remove, since I'm going to be saying to 0, we'll be removing any spacing that I have. And then lastly, I want to, well, not lastly, it's still going to be some time. Text decoration. So basically the text decoration refers to anything where, if you can see basically here, there's underlines and bullets and such. So now we want to remove those sorts of things. It's not necessarily what I want. I want to set that to none. Cool. And then box dash sizing. Box sizing I'm going to set to border box, and this just allows me to actually align my stuff in a line if I wish, or if I actually want to put them in rows in any sort of way. It actually makes it much easier for me to do that. So now I'm going to come back here, see if the copy's actually picked up what I've been doing. Okay, so it has. So we know that. Okay, cool. So now as you can see, the bullets have been removed. Cool. Bullets have been removed, and this is my section now, my header section. Okay. So now what I want to do as well is I'd like to actually change the background image of my body. Okay. So what I'm going to do first of all, I'm going to create the body tag within CSS, and then I'm going to actually call upon the background color like I did before. So we know already that this is working. As you can see that we made changes. I encourage you to do it this way so you can see what you're doing, and then you can see the changes that are being made instead of having some guesswork. It's better to have a reference to actually work with. So now that's been done. I'm going to save that as keep saving. Since my computer is not the fastest, I will keep working. It is an off-whitish color, so you might not necessarily be able to see much difference, but trust me, it is there. Cool. So now I am targeting the header section, and now what I'm going to do with the header section basically is I want to change the background color as well. Background dash color, I'm going to make it FFF. Cool, save that, and then I'm going to make the width 100%. So now the reason I'm making it 100% is that I'd want my navigation bar to always be the whole length of the websites, no matter the size of the screen. I know that right now we're working on the phone styling, but this is probably going to be carried on throughout all my different sizes. The reason I do this is because this is personally how I like to do it. You can obviously make big things in different ways, but just to show you and to give you an example, this is how one of the ways that you can actually go about doing this. And now lastly, what I want to add is the height. I'm going to make the height of the actual header 100 pixels. Cool. Now we're going to let it. Did I make 100 pixels? Yes, I did. Okay, cool. And I also want to encourage you to always just keep checking and making sure that you close things properly. If maybe say, as you can see here, currently it's going blue, and then it goes yellow, or yellow, green, whatever you want to call this color. Just make sure that everything still stays within the pattern that it's going. If ever, let's say for example, the color changes, or like this happens, so now you see they both yellow, this means I've done something wrong. So the best way to start would be to go to the line that you previously worked on and see what's going on. And just always check maybe if you didn't close it off. You see like that as well. If I didn't close it off, then it will do that, it will change. But there should always be some sort of consistency to say that you're on the right track. Okay, cool, let's continue. So now what I want to add as well is I want to actually start styling the name of the company. So now the name of so what I want to do, like I said before, is I live using comments so that I know more or less what I'm talking about. So now I'm going to be targeting the header, but within the header I'm going to be targeting the brand header, which is, if you remember, the class that we created. Brand header. So now that's the class that we created. Cool. So now what I want to do basically is I want to change the font. I want to change the font from something we're maybe all familiar with, being Arial. And then one more thing, I want to change the font size. Font size, I'm going to make it something like 24 pixels, as it is the header. I want it to stand out from the rest. Add font weight. Font weight. This is just going to add some boldness or some thickness to the actual name of the company itself. And then color, I'm going to set to this. Cool. And then text dash transform. So basically what this tag does is it changes whatever way in which your header or whatever your text is written in, it changes it to what you wish it to be. So if you want to change it from capitals to all being small letters, you can do so. I want to make my header being all caps, so I've set it to uppercase. So now what should happen is this section or this particular area. Okay, so there we go. So okay, I just figured it out. So yes, there we go. This is what is meant to actually happen. So now that we actually have seen that the page is still responding, we now continue to add what we need to see. So we know, okay, cool, the page is working more or less how we like it to work. So now from here we add a display of block. Basically block, like I was saying before, it just helps it make it easier for us to actually center things when we wish to move them around the page or around the particular section. Cool. I'm going to set the margin to 0, auto. Cool. Then text align. So now obviously dash text align. Now I'm going to set my text align to center. So now I want to make sure that when it's at this particular size, my page is always, my content is always centered. Padding. Let's my padding to 20 pixels from the top, and then 0 from everywhere else. Cool. 0 from the left and right. Come to this side, just so you know, I'm pressing F5 to just refresh my page. So now I should see this actually move to the center here to know that I'm on the right path. But now I just realized I should actually I want to change or update the name as well. So I'm going to come back here and actually add catering, as this is what it was originally, and then as well as come up here to change this to Shamiso's. Just make sure this is right. Okay, cool. So now I've done that. So now I'd like to actually, okay, so the page is actually still where it was originally. So now I just have to come through my code and just double check if there's anything that I may have done wrong. 0 margin auto, text align center, and then padding 20 and 0 pixels. Okay, so everything is fine on my side. Okay, but she'll have to continue, and I will tend to this as we are moving on. But yes, so now that is that page. Okay, so now we know that the name has been added. Perfect. Okay, cool. So now the line has been added as well. Now we actually want to also see. Okay, so now I came to my HTML site just to actually see that everything is in order. Just refreshing, maybe not save it. I need to see exactly what is going on, but as it's loading, we can go to the next section. Just keep looking at the site. Okay, so that was not necessarily the issue, but it is fine. We will sort that out as we move along. Okay, so now what I want to do is actually want to start styling my entire navigation, being the whole section itself. Just wait. Again, I'm gonna stick with it and keep making comments so I know what it is. Navigation. Cool. Okay, so now what I'm actually targeting in this section is my header, navigation, and my unordered list is what I'm targeting. As you can see, everything that I've named there are actually the tags that I use on the HTML side. So again, I'm going to start with the display of block, click enter, and then margin set to 0, auto, cool, and then lastly width. I want the width to actually fit content. So now that that is done, I'm going to come to this side and actually okay, cool. So once we've refreshed, perfect. So now the page header should actually go to the center, and then now you'll notice that some of the text has now gotten or fallen behind the image itself. But don't worry, we will get actually around to fixing that. As long as we know now the header has actually been more or less coming around. Okay, so now the next thing I actually want to start styling will be this particular section. But now the thing is, we don't have to always start off and do the same code and write down the code. What we can do is we can actually copy and paste, and then we take out everything that we don't need. So most of this here actually doesn't necessarily apply to what we're going to be changing. And also now we're targeting the anchor tag as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to, before I forget what it is, add the comments, name it accordingly, navigation links, cool. And then I would like to now actually, sorry, not the anchor, my mistake. There we go. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to actually start styling them as well. So firstly I want them to display in a inline dash block, come down, and then list style. So now I would like to remove all the underlines, and I'm going to set that to none. Cool. And then I'm going to actually come to the padding and then make it 0 from the top, and then 16 pixels from the left and right. And then lastly I want to align the text to the center. Okay, so now as you can see that my colors are not right, this means that I cannot close this properly. So now I'm going to refresh this. Then as we refresh, we can move it down a bit. Okay. Right, so now that we have actually done that particular section, okay, let me see, so now there's something else that is not necessarily responding the way we intended it to. Okay, control save that, and then come back to my, okay, let me just move up here. Cool. And I would like to actually now come this side and refresh my page again. Okay, so now I want to actually add as well beneath this. Okay, like I said, we can actually copy this section. I want to copy this part, move that, paste that there, put this there. Okay, cool. And then now what I want to do is I want to actually start styling the anchors as well. So firstly I want to change the font dash to Arial. Excuse me. Font family to Arial. Then change the font size to 14 pixels. And then lastly also come down here and then make the color 111. Cool. And then lastly for the section text transform, excuse me, text transform, I'll make it uppercase. Okay, so now we come back to the side, we just hit refresh, and then we'll see that now that the words are in capital as well as the menu is now in Arial as well. Okay, so now that we've got that, now we need to actually move forward. Okay, let me just see, is everything in order? Let me just do some cleaning up here, some housekeeping. Okay, so that is that. List style. All right. So now what I want to also start styling as well, or rather what I want to do is move to the next section. So how I'm going to do that exactly is I'd actually like to go back to my HTML page and see if everything is in order. Okay, let's see, is everything right? Cool, so we're done with that section. Perfect. Now what I want to do is I want to create a div. Now what this div is going to do basically is it's going to wrap all my contents in this section, so that if I want to change the size of it, or the width of it rather, I can do so easily. So I'm going to call this one wrapped. Put it inside inverted commas, of course, do not forget, very important. Put that in inverted commas, and then I'm now going to work within this space so that everything that I work with will be that particular size. Okay, so now what I want to do again is also add comments, and this is how you make the comments in HTML. About section. Cool. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to create another div, and this div I'm going to call div class course. I'm going to call, put it inside inverted commas. I'm going to call this one a wrapper. Then close it off. Cool. Close it off. And then now what I want to do again as well is now add one more class called an article, which is going to be used to just keep everything that is of similar content in one place. Article class is equals to img-info is what I'm going to call it, because this will be about the information of the images that I have, being the paragraphs and the headers and such, so to speak. So now that I have that, I can close it off, and I will work within my articles for this time being. So now what I want to do is I'm going to say I'm going to create h1 tags for my header, and I'm going to label it about catering. About catering, perfect. That's at one line tag, so that's fine the way it is. And then I'm going to add one more, h5, then call this establishments.1996. Save that. Okay. Now also what I want to do is I'm going to create a paragraph. I'm going to create a simple paragraph. The catering was founded in. So now I'm just going to just put some text just so there is space. What you can do though as well is, if you wish to actually get some dummy text, there's a site called Lorem Ipsum. Lorem Ipsum basically just gives you text you can use to just fill the space until you have your own actual contents to fill the space with. Yeah. So for now, I'm just going to put in my own random stuff, just for the time being. Okay, cool. That should be enough text. Okay, so now that I've closed off already, the article is closed it as well. Now what I want to do is I want to put the image that will be coming alongside it as well. So how I do that is I come below the article and I create an image class. And I set the class, because this will be about blueberries, I'm going to call the image class to image-blue. So it's something something simple that I'll be able to remember. src is equals to. So now I'm going to call upon the folder and the picture within the folder rather, which I know the name is table setting 2.jpg. In space. Now what I want Google to pick up when I actually type this is I'm going to put down blueberry. Alright, then now the div has been closed. Make sure that this is closed too, just to minimize any errors that may come. Okay, perfect. So now what I want to do is I want to come back to my styling. Excuse me. Let's first see if the picture is even coming, but now. Okay, so there we go. Now I've refreshed. As you can see, I've also added some placeholder text that is a bit more fitting to this particular thing that we're working with. Cool. So now what I want to do is I want to come and start styling this image here. So I know that I call the image img blue, so I'm going to come here and copy it as it is. Control C, and then paste it over there. Now what I want to do as well is I want to style the width, make the width to be 100%. And then lastly, well not lastly, box shadow, give it a box shadow just so it is similar to what the final picture looked like, or what you had in your, or what I'd shown you. So I'm going to first set the first one to being 0 because I don't want it to move up or down, and I want it to move a little bit to the left, so I'm going to set it to 10 pixels. And then lastly, this is the number that is actually the most important. So this is the box shadow. So basically the box shadow works with three main numbers. The first two work with the up, down, and then left and right, and then the last one actually works with how much of a blur effect you want to have on your shadow. So I want 25%, so obviously the lower the number, the more intense it may be, and then the higher the number, the more faded it tends to be as well. So now also what I want to add to my image as well is a border radius. So I'm going to add a border radius to my image as well, to my blueberry image here on the right, and I'm going to make that to be 15 pixels. Perfect. And then lastly, I want to have a little bit of I want to have a transition speed. So what I mean by transition speed exactly is when you actually hover over, well not hover, but when you actually get to it, when you get to the image itself, it should actually have it should look a bit more natural, like more flow, not like you just get there and it's boom, it's there. It should flow into how it is. So transition, that's how it works. So now basically I'm gonna make mine 0.5 seconds. Cool. I'm gonna save, put that there, save that. And then lastly, what I also want to do is I want to make it also, okay, I want to copy all of this. I'm going to copy this, paste it down here, and I'm going to take out the first one. I'm going to take out the width, so that doesn't necessarily apply, because now I'd like to actually add a hover effect rather. Excuse me, I made an error here, so what I want this actually to apply when I bring it here. Oh, that is fine there already. Cool. So that's there. Border radius will stay. Then I want to actually save that, make it a bit neat. Now close it off nicely, press save, then come up here and hit refresh. Sorry, come here, click on the screen, hit refresh, and then pause, and then okay, excuse me, I have to just pause there for a second. But we're back. Okay, so now as you can see, the about catering has now been spaced out, as well as the line has also been fixed as well in that section. If you look there very lightly, you can see that the border radius is now slightly rounded. Okay, so now let's move forward from there. Okay, cool. So now that we've got that down, the next thing we would like to do now would actually be to make the first image a bit more responsive. I'm going to come here. Okay. Okay, cool. So now what I want to do again, I'm going to come first and say burger banner, which is the first picture, burger banner, and put this within comments so that I know what I'm talking about. Cool. Okay, now I can begin. So I know that I called the burger banner, by a class of banner, just to make sure this is what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm now styling. So it should actually come back up here. So as you can see, currently the image is not being responsive to the size of the page. So now I need to fix that in a way that it actually shows the whole page properly. So firstly, what I want to do is I want to change the width from that to being 100%. Cool. Let's see if it works. What it loads, I'm going to continue adding a bit more to it. Cool. Something is going on, but we can, okay, let me see. So now that is that. There we go. Probably just the spacing to it. Okay, so now that we've actually assumed, we can see that the image is now responsive to the size of the page. So no matter the size, it will always now respond to it. Perfect. So now what else I want to do is I want to come now to the image info section, which would be, let me just control save this. So now which would be the image info section. Have I created it? Yes, I have. This right here. Yes. So this is now what I will be targeting, this particular area. Control S. This section. Okay. So now that we have that part done, we want to now actually start targeting the next paragraph section. Let me just make sure that we're moving along accordingly. Actually want to come back to this section rather and change a few things. Let me actually add some color to it. Yes, I'd like to add some color to this section, and I'm going to make this that. Perfect. And then as well as then everything else is fine. I'm just checking over my code to see if I've missed anything else. Okay. Alright then. Okay. So now what I want to do as well is I want to actually create the footer for the section for the footer. But now I just want to first start by making the comments so that I can actually come back once I have everything that I need, and I know that I will be working with the Spaanify link as well as the paragraph once I am here. But now obviously I need to come back and actually curate these two sections. So now what I'm going to do, actually I have created them already. What am I saying? I've already created them. So now what I want to do is I actually want to come here and actually work on the footer. So footer, and I'm going to call it, since I made it a link, I'm going to call it using a, then go into it now. So firstly, so that I'm able to space it properly, I'm going to put it in the display of block. Perfect. Then I'm going to set the margin to 0 and auto. Cool. Just right. Auto. Cool. Text. Align. I'm going to align it to the center since I want everything on my page to be centered. Center. Cool. As well as the padding. I would like to have padding. I have 20 pixels from top and bottom, and then 0 from the sides. Cool. Let me just fix that. And then lastly, the font size is what I'd like to change now. Font size, I'm going to make this a nice 25 pixels so that we are all able to see it properly. So now what I want to do is I want to come here, I want to hit refresh. I'd like to hit refresh. Okay, so also one thing I'd like to do as well before, because I realized I did not actually make it an ID, is actually declare that the footer will be an ID so that on the other side the computer knows what I'm talking about. So now that that is done, I'd like to actually come to the side and hit refresh. Okay, perfect. So now I know that the color is right. I want to add another tag to this actually. Just space this out, just make sure everything is fine there. Okay, cool, we're good. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'd actually like to style the actual footer in a way that is very appealing and actually makes it stand out, because now it is just standing in the middle of nowhere, which is not necessarily what I wanted to do. So I'm going to come here above it, and then create the main tag. Main. Cool, main. And now what I want to do with the main is I'd like to set the overflow and make it hidden. Once that is done, it should actually make it so that you can only see it once you have to get to a particular section. And then also add a padding to it of about 100 pixels. Cool, I'm going to save that. Then I'm not done there yet. So now also what I want to add as well is actually some more styling to the footer itself and not just the anchor. So how I'm going to do this is I'm actually going to set a background color of 111. Cool. Then position, I'm going to set it to relative, and then the height, I'd like the height to be 100 pixels. Obviously you can set it to whatever you want. I'm just doing this so that we have an idea, or we can actually see how this comes out at the end. And then lastly, I want the margin dash top to be negative 100 pixels, so that it almost in a way flows within the actual page when there's a lot of content. Okay, so now I want to come to this side again, so I'm just going to save this, come back here, save my work this side as well, make sure everything is correlating, and then I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, so now I would like to actually create the entire content of the page as well, so we can actually just move on to the styling once we are done with the entire thing as well. So what I want to do now is I want to come under this table setting page, table setting div, sorry. Cool, so now that that is done, I can actually come beneath it and start creating our menu. Cool, put that there, and then set the h2 to menu. Cool. Now have a div class of column. Make sure that it is in inverted commas, and then close that off, press enter, and then now start off with the first one, again being another h2 tag, and this one will just simply say bread basket. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have that, actually continue and then add another paragraph tag. So another paragraph tag will be me describing very shortly, describing exactly what will be in the bread basket. Assortment of fresh baked fruit and muffins. Okay, then price at the end 5.50. Cool, that is that. Save that one, and then since the styling of this will more or less be the same, I can actually copy. Wait, let me make sure my div is closed before I start copying things. So that is the entire thing. This div ends off down there, and this div ends off down there. So now what I will be repeating in particular will be the column, because the column will remain the same. Everything will be housed under the div class, under the div class of row. Sorry, I forgot to name this one. So yes, so this will be under the div class of row. So now that I've got that, I want to actually copy this section because it's going to be the exact same throughout. So I'm going to be copying it, pasting it, and then just changing the content within it so that it fits. So this one will be, instead of bread basket, it will be almond granola with fruits. And then again, now we're going to just change the description as well. So the description will be natural cereal of honey, toasted oats, raisins, and almonds. Sounds like an interesting breakfast. And almonds. Then lastly, I'm going to do the same thing again. Make sure the div is closed, and then copy the section, come down here and paste it. And now what I want to do again is I want to change the name lastly to the last item on our menu being the Belgian waffle. What is the Belgian? Oh, I just realized I spelled natural wrong. I will fix that now. What is the Belgian waffle? It is a vanilla flavored batter with malted flour. Going at 750 and 100. So I think it's better if I should put this, copy that, put this there, and honey, then put 750 at the end. Perfect. Okay, so now that is that section. Now I can actually save this, come to the side, and then refresh, and then as I wait for it to refresh, I can continue adding. Okay, cool. So now that I've refreshed, I can see that everything is that I've just added, all the content I've added is now here. Now what's left is for me to actually just start styling it so that it works and looks accordingly. Okay, so now I come back to my style.css page. And in my style.css page, what I want to do is actually want to start finishing off and doing all the columns accordingly. Okay, so now firstly, what do I want to do first is I want to actually say what am I styling, and I'm styling my contact form. Styling my contact form. Okay, so now I know that I called my contact form by I made my contact form an ID. I just want to double check that I did so. Contacts, there we go. So this is what I am now targeting the whole thing, the whole section. Okay, or actually no, that's not me. Okay, so now what I want to do is actually want to come here, say contact. Cool, open that contact, then come into the contact section, and then give it a margin. I want to give it a margin of say 20 pixels. Then come to the next section, give it a padding of 20 pixels as well. And then lastly, make the text. Sorry, the text. There's nothing wrong with making the code that way. I just prefer to have it on separate lines, text aligned to the center, so it's all in the middle. And then also one more thing, I want the font size to be 15 pixels. Cool, 15 pixels. Okay, that is that section. Okay, so now what else I want to add as well, since that's not all of it, there's still a whole lot more to actually work on. So now I want to actually target the container we created. So now the container, there we go. Container, what I want to do first of all is I want to justify the space. So now this allows me to actually change the space around the object that I'm actually referring to. So now what I want to do, I'm going to say justify and then set it to space around. Space around, cool. Then come back to the bottom and then border. I'm a person of borderless design, so I'm going to say border none. Okay, perfect. And then also what I want to add as well will be a border radius, of course, if you didn't get it already. Border dash radius of 20 pixels. 20 pixels, cool. Background color. Background color of F2, F2, F2. Cool. Then as well, now I want to give it a bit of padding of 20 pixels. Alright, so now that is that section, the container section. Now what also I want to do as well is start studying the input fields. So now I'm going to actually say contact form input and text areas, which is what I am now working with. Text areas. So the first thing I'm targeting will be the input. But now, as you saw, there's more than one type of input. So what exactly am I targeting? I'm targeting the text. So it's type would then be equals to text. And outside, since there's more than one kind of text, there is the select and there is the text area itself. Text area itself. Cool. Now I can actually start styling within them since I've named it accordingly. Firstly, I want the width to be 100%. Then also I want the padding to be 12 pixels. 12 pixels. And then, then the border, there will be no border. Then the border radius will be set to 15 pixels. Let's check over everything that it is fine. I think it's been coding for a minute, so now it's best if we come inside, hit refresh. Okay, so now one more thing that I actually like to do as well is actually put everything within that section which we called the wrapped, the class called wrapped. So now that everything actually does center and start to actually work accordingly, so now I want to actually set the width of the entire section to be 1000 pixels. Cool. And then margin, which is set to 0 and auto. Cool. Then lastly, I'm going to align the items. Align dash items to the center. Okay. Then come over this side, hit refresh. Okay, so now what I want to do as well is I want to actually add the contact labels. Excuse me, contact form labels. So create this first. Labels. Cool. So now what I want to do, since label is already a tag that HTML identifies in CSS, actually just directly start coding for it, 10px, and then give it 10, another 10, then 0. Cool. I'm gonna save that. And then display, I want to set to inline block, font size, I'm going to set to 18 pixels. 18 pixels. Cool. Now what is next is the button. Okay, now this is the button. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say inputs, or rather I can just copy. Just going to copy this part. Copy from here to here. Copy that. And just change this to type being submit. Perfect. Okay, remove that. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Then I'm going to start styling within the button itself. What I want to do first, I want to give it a background color. Dash color of, let's say, 4CAF50. Like an offish green. Color of the text will be white. Then the padding, I'm going to set it to 12 pixels from the top and bottom, and then 20 from the left, from the sides. Then lastly, border will be set to none. then border radius will be set to 15 pixels. Cursor. So now cursor, this is one that we haven't used yet. So cursor pointer basically means that when the person hovers over it, it will change it to the finger. That is what you are more used to seeing when you're going to click onto something that is clickable or take it to another page or perform some sort of action. Then now what I want to add as well, I want to make it float to the right, and then I'm going to give it a margin of 20 pixels. Not done there yet though. You still need to add some more code to that particular section. Actually, let's check that. Okay, cool. That is that. Save that. Save that section. And then I want to give it a. So now I want to actually start targeting those column 25s that I told you about earlier on. So now what I want to do, I want to make it float to the left. This means that whatever information is there will move to the left hand side of it so that it all fits in together into the space that has been set for it. I'm going to give it a width of 25%. Cool. And then margin top, so it's got some space in between them and they're not on top of each other. I'll set it to a modest 6 pixels. Cool. It's that. Then now I want to actually also style the other column that I created, being the column dash 75. So how this is going to work, is more or less the same. Float it. So I'm going to float it to the left. Cool. And then I'm going to also give it a width of obviously 75% to make up the remaining. And then I'm going to keep it at the same margin top, being 6 pixels to have consistency throughout the page itself. Okay. So now there's still a few more things that I actually like to style as well. You may copy me as I go along. Column float. Okay, so made the. Okay, so there is a class we created that is called column. I just want to go back to it so you can see what we're looking for. It is this right here. So now we're talking about the menus. So now we're styling everything within the menus. Okay. So now the column basically. That's why. So I was just wondering why was it not showing it the right way. The color wasn't necessarily responding. Okay, so now the column, how I want to style the column, I'm going to make it float to the left as well. Cool. Make it float to the left. And then give it a width. So this is me actually, this will apply to all three of the separate columns that we've made. So the width of them will be 33.33 since there's three of them percent, and they will now be set to fit within the space of the wrap of this 1000. So it will each be taking 33% of that 1000 pixels. Keep in mind that if you do change anything around it, or let's say if you add a margin to it to make them space out, that will obviously make them appear to be bigger, meaning that they will move to the next line and won't necessarily fit in one line anymore. So if you're having that particular issue, just try work around changing the percentages. So if you want to make it trying to make 4 columns, you'd obviously make it 25 so that they all fit, and 5 if you want to make it 20% so that they all fit, and so forth and so forth. Just so you know more or less what to do. Let me close this off. So now the padding, I'm going to give it a 30 pixel padding. Cool. And then I'm going to give it a border radius of 25 pixels, Then I'm gonna also make the text align to the center, just to keep the theme of everything, gonna center everything properly. Okay, and then now with there being columns as well, I want to also, okay, with there being columns, I also want the columns. Sorry. Okay, so now with there being columns, I want the columns to all, just make sure this is, okay. So now with there being with there being a paragraph, I want the font size of the paragraph to be 20 pixels. 20 pixels of that. Cool, save it. Okay, then now there was that one class we made as well that was called row, if you recall. So now row after, so now this particular phrase means that whatever I do will take place after that particular section I have identified. So now after the row section, I want the content. This part you can do as I've done here, leave it blank, and then display it in the form of a table. This is how we'll be able to actually share the space that they've been given, and then for the clear, I want this to be both. Cool. Then lastly, I'm going to come to the row again, but now I'm actually targeting the header itself. So firstly, I want the text to align to the left. I just want to let you know, obviously, if I'm going too fast, you can feel free to pause and go back to a particular section if you would like to actually get hold of this particular code, so you can actually work with it in practice and see exactly how far you are from it. Feel free to send us a message and I will do so and send it to you. Otherwise, we will be uploading it to GitHub in the future, obviously depending on the level of feedback we get in terms of if you actually do want to get this code. Okay, so now I'm just finishing off this section, margin top. I'm going to give it some space from the top, give it 20 pixels space from one another. Okay, cool. Ah, damn, that was quite a bit. So now let me just close this off, save that. I'm gonna hit refresh on this side while that is loading up. Okay, and there we go. So this is more or less how the site is now looking. So basically, yeah, that's, so I just obviously took the shadowing that I showed you, the box shadowing, and I added it to more of the images so you can actually see how they would actually look in the entire thing. So you can obviously feel free to take them and place them in different places as you wish. Okay, otherwise, thank you very much for taking part. We look forward to seeing your submissions. If you have any questions, like I've been saying, please do not be shy, do not hesitate to even ask us. We will be more than happy to help you out. Send us a message on the comments below. Send us a message through Spaanify on Instagram, on at Twitter as well. You can definitely hit us up there as well. And if there's any sort of content that you'd like to see in the future, anything that maybe you're having any issues with and you think that we could help you by actually having a class where we can all actually interact, we would be more than open to doing so. But otherwise, from myself, Sponseni Magwaza, and the team of Spaanify, it's been fun, it's been great. Enjoy the next session with Kapano Maredi, where he'll be now telling you how to actually add some functionality to your page using JavaScript. Alright, like I said before, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Good night. Bye bye. Thank you for staying tuned.